Good morning and welcome to the Environmental Echo, PWGC's monthly podcast. I am Paul Boyce, President and CEO of PWGC and your host today. And again, we're always trying to bring our listeners some really interesting, exciting topics. And again, we've got another one for you guys. We've got the great Islip Town Supervisor, Angie Carpenter, with us to talk about the state of the town of Islip and some of the environmental issues that they might be facing and challenges going forward. So we are excited to have her here. Before we get into our topics, as always, I like to let our listeners know that the best way to reach us is through our website, and that is www.pwgrocer.com/podcast. If you guys have comments, questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts, topics, or guests, you want to be guests, reach out to us, and we'll see if it jives with the show, and we'll get you on here. You know, we're interested to hear from you. But, along with Angie, we've got one of our own, Charlie Bartha, who is a Senior Vice President and leader of our business development group at PWGC. He's been with the firm for a few years now, probably more than I realize.
Going on 5 years.
We are glad to have him with us as well. But introducing our main guest, Supervisor Carpenter, she's spent close to 30 years as an elected official serving in a variety of capacities. For example, she's spent 12 years representing the 11th District as a Suffolk County Legislator. Following that, she was elected as Suffolk County Treasurer for 10 years, and she's been with the Town of Islip. She's been the supervisor since 2015, where she's overseeing the efforts to encourage the use of the Town-owned Islip MacArthur Airport, which, that's huge, and hopefully we get more use out of that and more destinations for sure, right? As well as improving the environment and promoting a business-friendly reputation across the town. I'd like to add on a personal note, I did attend the Islip Business Breakfast last month, which was well attended, and the food was excellent too, as was the speech you gave, always encouraging. And Charlie, just so people know where he's coming from, he not only was he's a longtime engineer and professional engineer like myself, but he has been in his former life, he was Commissioner of Public Works for the Suffolk County DPW. And I want to welcome Supervisor Carpenter and Charlie Bartha. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. So, with that, let's get started. Supervisor Carpenter, there is a lot going on in the town of Islip, whether it's development projects down in Lake Bayshore, which the Tritech, the developer going on there, and efforts related to the Ronkonkoma hub. That's another big thing which I believe has, it's in part of the town of Islip as well, and promotion of MacArthur Airport, as well as the redevelopment of the Central Islip Business District. We could go on and on as to what's going on. But how's the town prioritizing these efforts? What are you guys looking forward to getting done first? What's really high on your list?
Projects seem to take their own way of prioritizing themselves. But, right now, Tritech, you're talking about downtown Bayshore, real stellar example of transit-oriented development. Right across the street from the Bayshore Railroad Station, bus route right in front, half a block to the downtown area, 2 blocks to the ferry. It truly is TOD, and that is very, very exciting. And they're an incredible firm and doing really, really good things. So we're really happy about that. And you mentioned the airport, and that's certainly an area of focus for me. And I know your focus as a company is the environment, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And really, when you think about the environment, we can make a case for the fact that people can help our environment by using our airport. It's closer. There's no need to get in your car and use that gas that's going to take you to get to those 2 city airports when you could be right here in your own backyard. I was on a panel discussion the other morning at the HIA, and one of the gentlemen said he had just come in from Florida and was flew in through Islip Airport. And when they were planning their trip, his 8-year-old said to him, "Are we going to the close airport?" And he was very happy to hear that they were using the close airport. So not only are we stress-free, but we're close. And people should try to remember that. It just blows my mind when, I hear someone just got in from somewhere and I go, "Where did you fly?" This morning I was at a meeting, and the gentleman said he had just come in from Florida. I said, "Oh, really? Did you fly into Islip?" He goes, "No."
Such a pleasure using
I just
that
can't.
airport.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But little by little, and as I'm looking out the window, a plane just went by.
Yeah,
so
we're right
real
by
near
there
the
today.
airport.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're getting that message out there. We really are. For the first time in a long time, we've got a professional commissioner who's been in the airline industry for years, run airports in the past. That wasn't always the case. And that's important. You've got to know the industry. And the dynamics of the airline industry now are ever changing. And it's entirely different from the way it used to be. And trying to get new service in there, airlines, you just don't woo them and wine them and dine them. You've got to really give them data. You've got to be able to quantify how they're going to make money at your airport. That's basically what it's all about.
Oh, wow. I mean, certainly, I know we've just added, or the town's added another airline over there.
Breeze Airways. Yeah. And that's an interesting story, too, because the founder of Breeze is the co-founder of JetBlue. So when people hear that, there's no reason why you shouldn't expect this is going to be a serious, successful venture. And David Neeleman does not do things that aren't successful. And he's committed to Breeze, and he's committed to having it be successful, and he's committed to Islip Airport, and we're really excited about that. And it didn't just happen overnight. This has been going on for about 3 or 4 years. When they first reached out to us, when they were in the talking stages of starting their airline, starting Breeze Airways, and rented hangar space from us at the airport. And we had to sign non-disclosure agreements, and no one knew about it. And I couldn't believe that we were able to keep it under wraps, which we were committed to.
That's interesting.
It doesn't happen here in this environment,
no.
Especially when they started bringing their planes in, because they did their proving out of Islip. The certification, everything happened, the training, staff training and everything. So David says, the birthplace of Breeze Airways is Islip MacArthur Airport in Hangar 1. Wow. So that's kind of cool. But what was so frustrating is that when they started flying, I almost felt like a mother bird, when you let your kids go out and fly. Well, they were flying from other airports, not ours. And it was a couple of months when they made the decision that Islip Airport would be their New York regional airport. So we're thrilled about that. David's a unique, charismatic kind of individual. We had him speak at the LIDC Suffolk dinner that we hosted in Islip, and he was just absolutely spellbinding. People were very, very impressed.
How do airlines determine where they want to do direct flights? Do they do polls, or they monitor?
Well, again, it's the data that I spoke to that you've got to produce for them. When we were trying to lure them into using Islip as their New York airport, we reached out to the HIA, and Joe Campolo and his firm and the HIA Long Island did a survey out to their members, and they turned it around quickly, and we needed the information quickly. And there were over 500 respondents showing that if there was more service, if there were more nonstop destinations, they would, in fact, increase their marketing, their travel budgets, and use Islip MacArthur Airport. So we were able to quantify what we knew anecdotally, but they need to see that. They need to see that. In years past, airport commissioners and staffs would go to conferences all over the country, and, they'd be wining and dining people, and, decisions were made that way. It doesn't work that way any longer.
And the town had to do that. It was not the airlines don't do that.
No, the airlines don't do that. The airport is self-sufficient. The airport's been in the black since I got there, and I'm very happy about that. No taxpayer dollars are going into that airport. It's funded through grants, through passenger fees. And so we hired professional air service development company to, they know what the airlines want. They know what they need and are able to help us get that information to them.
So is MacArthur Airport, is it close to maxed out in terms of capacity?
Oh, heck no.
So we've got a lot more room to expand or grow, huh?
We definitely do, yeah.
That's great.
Where, at one point in time, there were like 46 flights a day going out of there. And now we're at pre-COVID capacity right now, because in 19, we were doing about 22 flights a day, which is what we're doing now. But there certainly is room to get back to where we were and room to grow.
Oh, wow. That's encouraging.
Yeah, it really is.
As you mentioned, the pandemic, it's hopefully we're maybe at the tail end of this, or it's over, and people are going to get back to traveling again and having taken a vacation or business travel. And just having that right here in our backyard is just beyond convenient.
It is huge. And I just feel like I'm compelled to just say this because of something I heard on the radio coming here this morning that, the numbers are starting to go up again. And we don't want to go back to where we were. And I think if people can just learn the habits, just to be careful and wash your hands and all those things that we were doing, flu, cases of flu, those 2 years were down dramatically because people were wearing masks. They were not, having that contact that they normally have. So as the numbers are eking up a little bit, I would just urge everyone to still be careful.
We've seen it in our office recently.
Yeah, exactly.
People are at a birthday party and, symptoms are mild now. A lot of people are vaccinated, but it's still out there.
It's still happening. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gosh. Hopefully sooner or later it will be gone and it will be a thing of the past and we can get on with our lives. But you're right. We got to be mindful and still, take precautions.
Yeah.
But so with the town of Islip being a South Shore municipality, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine the health of the Great South Bay and the rivers, and all the interconnecting water bodies is a priority. What are you guys doing to promote the health of the bay?
Well, in the town of Islip, we are just leading the way with our shellfish hatchery. Millions and millions of oyster seedlings are being released, and each oyster filters 50 gallons of water a day in the bay. So when you think about it, and we have 125 acres that we lease to these oyster farmers, and we have paperwork into the DEC to expand our capacity another 1,500 acres outside of Heckscher Park in the Great South Bay, and we're probably at the final stages of that. So it's done with a lottery system. People apply, they're on a list, and there's a demand for that. And it's really quite exciting and quite interesting.
Oh, wow. You mentioned the shellfish hatchery. My sister-in-law worked there a million years ago.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Right when she first got out of school. And so I am familiar with it. And she was, talking to me about the baby clams and everything else.
It's amazing. It
really
is.
It really is. So I'm glad you brought that up and how the oysters, 50 gallons a day.
Yeah, it's so important that the town take that initiative. And you have to make that happen.
And we're producing probably the lion's share for the state of New York. As far as the seedlings and everything go. So we're really very, very proud of that.
So you produced the seedlings right there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys get involved with like Chris Gobler and the Stony Brook folks at all with
they do.
The studies?
There are partnerships, and there are Commissioner Marty Blue is just so terrific. He really is a great guy. And we partner with Cornell and Stony Brook, and, you can't do anything in a silo. We have to work with one another, I think, on every level, no matter what the issue is. I think we're coming to understand that we've got to approach things a little bit more globally and regionally, and I think that's where firms like yours really are very, very helpful in that endeavor. We can't do things alone. We've got a partner.
No, you're right, and we enjoy partnering with the town to get things done. One of the projects, which is sort of part of this discussion, is Browns River, right?
Uh-huh.
Dire need of dredging. Is the Army Corps is involved, the DEC, there's the county. There's just a lot of different agencies and municipalities. How does all that work? How is it frustrating at times?
It's frustrating. Multi-jurisdictional oversight is challenging at the very least, and this includes the federal government, et cetera. And for years, people have been crying to get the Browns River dredged. And the real problem was the spoils. And, the dredge spoils them. Where do you put them? And we, again, Commissioner Ballou, from our DEC commissioner, we wound up testing the spoils that were in a particular site. We're able to move them to the landfill once they were declared safe to go into the landfill, and then it cleared up space for the spoils so that we had a dredge spoil site so that we could proceed with what we needed to do for the dredging of the river. And Congressman Garbarino, Andrew Garbarino, was very, very helpful in getting us $3 million worth of funding to help in those efforts. So we're very grateful to him. He's been really a great
Andrew's
partner.
I know him personally.
Oh,
He's
great.
a great guy. I've used him as my attorney on some stuff. He's And now that he's a congressman, it's just even better for, not only the town of Islip, but for the whole region.
Oh, absolutely. And he gets it. He gets the fact that it's more than just his congressional district. And, I think that's very, very important. And we're being a little challenged here in the town, but I think we're going to be okay because there was a lawsuit directing us to have councilmatic districts rather than all the council people being elected at large and representing the entire township. Now, as a result of that lawsuit and the settlement, the town of Islip was carved into 4 distinct councilmatic districts. So I've tried to keep reminding everyone that when you're making decisions, you can't be parochial. You can't just be worrying about your district like it was in the Suffolk County Legislature and is in the legislature. You have to be global. You have to look at things as a whole, and we are one town. We may have 4 districts, but we are one town.
Yeah. Well, that's a very tough issue, and having been on the administrative side of government,
exactly,
it was very frustrating with, as you say, the county legislature, because a lot of legislators had a tendency just to be parochial, as you say.
Well, in your case, coming before the legislature, and Charlie and I were in the county together, and that was how we got to know one another. But coming before the legislature to get permission to hook up to the Southwest Sewer District for some of the businesses up in Huntington along the 110 corridor. Now I was a South Shore legislator, and the South Shore legislators were very protective of the district and didn't want to allow others to flow into the district. But I was always one that consistently supported that because I saw the big picture.
Right.
I think that's how you have to look at it.
Absolutely.
Oh boy, and I don't know if you're looking at my notes
Nope,
over here,
not
but
at all.
My next topic was, you hit it, it relates to the Southwest Sewer District. I mean, we're talking about the Great South Bay, but improving the water quality, it also happens inland with sewers.
Absolutely.
So I know the county is looking at parts of Sayville and Oakdale and others that are part of the town of Islip, but what's the town doing to help move those projects forward?
Well, we work very closely with the county, Peter, over in DPW, who handles Scully, who's been just really, really helpful. We just recently were able to cobble together quite a substantial amount of money for the hookup for the sewers on Carlton Avenue.
Oh, wow.
We were very successful in securing a $10 million grant through the New York State Economic Development, the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, CI, it's about a 2-mile stretch from Suffolk Avenue to Smith. There's no sewer hookup for that little, and there was an ability to connect down the road a little piece. So I'm trying to convince the state to allow us to use some of that $10 million for the sewer hookup, and they really were reticent to do that. They wanted it to basically be plowed into just helping businesses develop, and especially they wanted to see multi-use projects, mixed-use projects. And I'm like, if you don't have sewers, you're not going to get the right kind of uses that you want.
Oh.
Right now along that corridor, and at the south end, it is absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful in Central Islip. You've got the 2 gorgeous courthouses. You've got the ballpark. Charlie, you worked on that. That's awesome, right? 20 years ago, and it looks brand new.
Yeah.
2 incredible hotels there, a brand new soccer facility, a shopping center, and beautiful condo developments, apartments that if you haven't been there, you really have to see it. And but up in this little stretch of 2 miles, you've got like a muffler shop, an auto body, things that you don't want in your downtown corridor. So I'm kind of envisioning, and this was my pitch to REDC, that this could be a destination. I could see all kinds of wonderful ethnic restaurants, kind of like Espanola Way down in Miami, where you've got a Caribbean and an Indian and an Italian and a Dominican, and it would be so really, really cool. But you can't do that if you don't have sewers. You're not going to have a fine restaurant with paper plates. Doesn't work.
And the town, you took an initiative on the name of the condominium project escapes me right now, but it's just north of Southern State Parkway, outside the boundaries of the sewer district.
Lexington Village.
Lexington Village.
Oh my God.
Yes, that was a very difficult one. I remember that from being at the county, and that's how far back it goes.
And it's so ironic because I remember that when I was back at the county, and we're talking almost 30 years ago, 1993, I was first elected to the legislature, and one of the first issues I had to deal with was Lexington Village and this antiquated sewage treatment facility that just wasn't working, and they wanted to condemn it. And these people were struggling as it was, and I can remember meeting there in their little community room, and you were probably there too, trying to come up with a solution. And fast forward, I'm at the town, and now all of a sudden they come in with a folder, and we have to talk to you about Lexington Village. And I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding me. But we were able to structure something to help them out, so I was really glad about that.
But I like your ideas, and back to the Sayville and Oakdale corridor. I used to live in Oakdale, and just it's not only the water quality issues, but it's the quantity. I mean, I could dig down in my front yard when I lived there, like 2-3 feet, and I was into water already. There's just no place to put it.
Well, we do have a lot of issues with drainage and everything, and we probably, for the first time in the history of the town, have actually put real money into our capital program for drainage projects. We've put money in for paving parking lots, things that, we never really did before. Our paving budget has tripled, but that's important. It's, we are the caretakers of the assets of the residents of this town. And if we don't take care of them, if we don't fix the roof on Town Hall, which we just did, and fix the cupola, which was ready to just collapse and blow away. What good are we? You really have a responsibility. So we take it seriously, and the town board's been very supportive, so I'm very grateful for that.
I mean, but do you see like sewering, would it sort of revitalize like Oakdale, that stretch over there where they have like, some shops and there's a theater and
absolutely.
stuff? I mean, it could get more like, next door to the town of Islip, you got Brookhaven, you got Patchogue, which, they were fortunate enough to have sewers. So, I mean, you can see what...
Yeah, it makes the difference. And I think people are finally coming to understand that. Sayville, the downtown's always been very, very successful and thriving, but they need sewers.
They do.
They need sewers.
And it's a balance because, one of the things that justifies sewers, you have to deal with economically. We don't have huge grants. Unfortunately, there's some huge grants that are in place and more coming. But communities often don't want to see zoning change.
Oh, gosh, tell me about it.
So it's a balance.
The planning department
met.
The planning department met last night and had a couple of contentious issues. And we had a change of zone the other evening, and it was a little contentious. But, I just ask people to trust us. We've got all of the information. We have the traffic experts. We have... the environmental experts in place, and, are not just making decisions in a vacuum and really are trying to do the right thing. And one of the projects it was in a bank building that's been vacant for 8 to 10 years on the corner of Atlantic Avenue and Montauk Highway in West Sayville. And the developer originally wanted to put in a 7-Eleven gas station and, food market or whatever the heck. And again, with the gas station, a 7-Eleven. And, I don't know that would have been the best use. And then they came up with this idea of a Starbucks. And so initially...
Starbucks with a drive-through, right?
With a drive-through.
Right.
So that was making everybody panic. And the initial proposal called for 10 on the queue. And we've got them up to 27. So, the property is big. And... I had a conversation with the developer, and I said, I want this to be the most gorgeous, Starbucks there ever was, But think about it, this abandoned building that's only going to bring graffiti and kids breaking in and, God forbid, doing drugs or whatever. You just have to have faith and know that, it's challenging sometimes. People don't want change. But I don't think you want a derelict vacant building either. And I think this is going to be good. And we put some, part of it, even though it's a Starbucks, it technically gets classified as fast food, so people panic. It's not going to be a Taco Bell. And we did put covenants, very strongly worded covenants in there that it can't be anything but a coffee shop use.
There's ways to deal with these things. You have to be creative and strong enough to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
and,
you kind of...
One of the things that I see more clear now than ever before, because we deal with a number of developers on those type of projects, and it's not just the town, because you have state roads, you have county roads run through the town, and people have different opinions about the effects.
But you also, and you know that well, working with developers, that you've got to engage the community, because you don't want to have people feel like you're, ramming things down their throat and that this isn't, what they want, et cetera. You really have to engage the community appropriately.
Critical.
The classic example of a developer really doing the right thing in Central Islip, again, on Carlton Avenue, the old New York Tech property.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. That originally was Central Islip Psychiatric Hospital, then got turned over to New York Institute of Technology. So this property has been off the tax rolls for a lot of years. So a developer comes in, purchases 87 acres that are now on the tax rolls. Yippee hooray. And, but the initial proposal was for a mixed use, some commercial, some industrial, retail, residential. So they came to us and I said, look, you've got to engage the community. When it's a big project, I want the developer to create a website so that people can go there, ask their questions, and get answers in real time, but real answers and not what somebody put on Facebook, And they did their due diligence and went out to the community and came back with an entirely different project. So the first phase of it is going to be residential apartments. They are reusing every single building. So when you talk about environmental sensitivity and really doing the right thing for the environment, initially they were going to take down all those buildings, 13 buildings. And the community said, we like how it looks, and so there's going to be estate fencing around it, and it's still going to have that park-like feeling to it, campus kind of feeling. And all 13 buildings are going to be maintained. They're adding one building that's going to be like a community center with a swimming pool, et cetera. So, so think about it. All of the construction and demolition debris for 13 buildings being trucked out of there through the neighborhoods to the landfill or trucked off island, that's all going to be saved. So, I mean, that's a huge environmental win.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, something else that's indirectly environmental, and we spoke with Mark Herbst from the Long Island Contractors Association about this at a podcast earlier. The Oakdale merge.
Oh gosh, yes.
So I mean, the environmental consequences of that traffic, all kinds of emissions.
It's horrible. It's horrible, and I was, encouraged to see that the governor made some reference to it. I know I'd had some conversations with Kevin Law and some other people, please, we need to address that. But something really funny the other day, somebody sent me a little joke posting. Supposedly it was Elon Musk who Twittered, I'm going to buy Long Island and fix the Oakdale merge. Okay, I'll be happy to sit down and negotiate with him if he's going to fix that merge. But that was kind of cute.
Oh, that's good. Well, before we wrap up, we do have a couple of other topics. One that's, again, goes back to the town being a shorefront, municipality, and resiliency. We have seen storms becoming more severe, more frequent, causing more damage, on our existing infrastructure, on our existing facilities. What is the town doing regarding, flooding and rising sea levels?
Well, we've, been very aggressive about putting pumps in that, will help take that water off. But, sometimes I don't care. And, when we get that prediction that a storm is coming, the crews are out there. They make sure all the drains are clear, that the pumps are all working so that it can take the water. But there are times that water level, and you guys know better than I, that the water level is so high that I don't care how many pumps you got going, there's no place for the water to go. There's nowhere to pump it, and you just have to wait for it. We had a situation on Maple Avenue in Bayshore where a storm came up rather quickly. It was a Sunday. People were at the restaurant at the lake house having brunch and had to be evacuated with the high water fire trucks because they couldn't get out. And get to their vehicles.
Yep. I think I saw it on News 12, I remember,
Yeah, so there are some situations that all of the, preparing and everything that planning that you put in place sometimes just can't avoid it. But we have been very cognizant of that and have really tried to address that.
You guys have like a capital budget line item for resiliency, or how are you addressing it?
Well, as I said, that we are actually having a line item for flood mitigation projects and so forth. And, talking about damages and everything, we have a sort of a rush resolution that was going to be on the agenda this Tuesday for repairing the dock over at the marina in Atlantique. And it was so ironic because I got an email yesterday from some guy saying, well, I'm so glad you're fixing the dock, but, why didn't you do it in the winter? Now we want to come there with our boat and you're working on it. Well, unfortunately, timing is such that, it just came to be that it really needs to be addressed and addressed quickly. So we're doing it.
And you reminded me there is part of the town of Islip is over on Far Island.
Exactly. Our entire southern border is on the water, either the bay or the ocean, and we have that marina over there in Atlantique. It's on the bay and the ocean, and it's an incredible facility, 158 slips, but people live there year round. And, we've got to remember that and be cognizant of that and service their needs too.
And here's something that I read in the paper, and I think it was one of the board members or councilmen. They brought up bees and pollination, and there's going to be, when you're landscaping, a certain percent of your landscape has to be set aside that's bee friendly, because we're seeing this decline in honeybees and all the other bees, the pollinators. And I thought, wow, that was really somebody really thinking forward here.
It's being open, and I think that's the beauty of town government and county government to a lesser extent. But being there, right there with the people. I mean, Tom Santarelli is the gentleman's name, had come to the town board a number of times, and he brought the issue forward. And, Councilman Cochran worked with him, I worked with him, and, we were happy to pro-offer that legislation and have it pass unanimously. And if you're going to be putting trees in, maybe you could think about putting ones that are more bee-friendly.
I mean, there's always like a landscape buffer or something that's got to go between business, and residential type stuff, or commercial and residential. So I see the opportunity for it. I thought it was... it was the first I heard of it, and I thought it was an absolutely great idea.
Yeah. No, it is terrific, and we're really excited, too, at the town. We have a new planning commissioner. The gentleman that was there before decided to leave and retire, and he was great, did a good job. So we went out there and we did a search, and Ella Donegal is her name, and she's our new commissioner. She's been on the job about a week, but the staff loves her, and she's very excited.
Great. I haven't met her yet.
Yeah, we haven't met her yet. We look forward to working with her.
Yeah, she's terrific, and she's from the private sector, which I think, in my mind, gives her a little bit of an edge. Understanding what it is to
different perspective
to work
for sure
with the communities and the developers and all the stakeholders, and not just be stuck in that governmental kind of mindset.
Yeah.
But we've got a great team in planning. Our site planners are great, and they're all excited about the new commissioner. So it's kind of cool to watch. I had a commissioners meeting yesterday and brought everybody in so they could meet her. And her background is very impressive, and she's involved in, green technology, and, has all those certifications, and was an architect by training. So she's got a great eye for things, and very involved in the state and national planning commission associations. So it's a great package, and we're really excited.
Like we just said, we can't wait to meet her now.
Yeah.
That we know this, she's new to the role, and we've got stuff going on in the town, so it'd be helpful to connect and see what's up.
Terrific,
but
terrific.
The last topic or question, however you want to look at it, that I had, it's maybe it's a broad one, but what does the future hold for the town? What's the vision? Where are we going with the town of Islip?
We are going forward. Full steam ahead. We're looking at every opportunity there is to make the town better. Right now, one of the things I want to see happen, I want to build a building. There, we just built a brand new animal shelter in CI. We had a shelter that was in place for probably close to 60 years that, needless to say, was, crying to be replaced. And it was built during COVID. So we're very proud of that we're able to get something that huge accomplished. And again, Marty Ballou, he did a great job there. But we are just bursting at the seams. There just isn't enough space. And we've got 2 houses on campus that were converted to be administrative offices. We've got the fire marshals in one building. And they are traditional, Cape houses, but not really a public-friendly environment. So right now we've appropriated some money to do a very effective planning study as to the viability of either keeping one or two of them, upgrading them, connecting them, whatever, or just removing them and building a new building. And we, because of the size of the town, we're able to get some direct ARPA funding through the CARES Act, and we have targeted some of that money to build this building. So that, I think, would be terribly exciting to have something that's, LEED certified, energy efficient, handicapped accessible, really, really user-friendly, because our town hall is beautiful. It's historic. It's got a lot of tradition. But to see someone with a walker struggling up the steps or having to go around to the back of the building and walk a great distance to get to the entrance, and then when they get inside, they have to walk again to the other side because the elevator is opposite from, and the elevator is small. It can't accommodate, one of those electronic wheelchairs. Really? So, we owe it. We really owe it to the public to do right. So I'm hoping we can get this done.
Well, and to wrap up, you did touch on some stuff in there like energy efficiency and sort of sustainability, which is near and dear to us. Whether it's wind, solar, geothermal, battery storage, or other alternative things. Is the town encouraging that, or are you trying to implement that at your own facilities?
We are. We've installed solar at our cap landfills, and trying to make it easier for people to get solar permits and encourage people to do that and to just be as energy efficient as we possibly can. And we owe it to the next generation. We really, really do.
Couldn't agree with you more. We're all about the decarbonization, aren't we, Charlie? Get off the fossil fuels, cleaner air to breathe. And we talked about the Oakdale merge and emissions, cars just sitting there idling, basically. There's a lot of ways we can correct this, so we're looking forward to it.
Great. Looking forward to working with you.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add before we wrap up today, Supervisor Carpenter?
No, I just ask everyone to just be patient. Everything... everybody wants everything done right away, and there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon, and we ask you to be patient with us and to understand that we really, really do care about the people that we serve.
Great message. Charlie, anything you want to,
closing
remarks?
Just like to thank the supervisor for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Charlie.
And yes, I will thank you both, Supervisor Carpenter and Charlie Bartha. And just to wrap up, I want to thank our listeners and viewers for joining us on this very interesting podcast with Supervisor Carpenter from the Town of Islip. This is the Environmental Echo, and I am Paul Boyce, your host and CEO and President of PWGC. Again, lastly, to reach us, as I mentioned earlier, the best way is our website, which is www.pwgrocer.com/podcast. And we look forward to hearing from you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy tuning into some future podcasts with us. Thanks.